Welcome, Slayer the Alchemist, and welcome to a special Sabbath Sunday, maybe a very special Sabbath Sunday. We are recording this minutes after the end of the Back to the Beginning Black Sabbath concert. It just ended like 5, 10 minutes ago. Darin and I haven't spoke. We were sort of texting each other during the show a little bit, but we haven't spoken about the show. And we're here right now to give you our live in the moment post-game reaction here. I'm not at the layer. I don't have my microphone, but again, we wanted to kind of capture this moment here as fresh and raw as we could. So both Darren and I watched it in the streaming version. I'll say myself, I thought that the streaming version was great. I thought the picture quality was fantastic. I was not expecting something that good. I was thought we were going to get like one or two camera angles. For those who didn't see it through streaming, between the acts, they were showing fans must have submitted little 15-second singing the praises of Black Sabbath. That was very cool. They had some videos of things around Birmingham. Uh, the sound quality was great, so I thought it was a really totally worth the money for the stream. I really enjoyed that. But Darren, what are your thoughts here? About 10 minutes after the last note from Black Sabbath, what'd you think of the show? What'd you think of Black Sabbath set? What'd you think of Ozzy set? What did you think of the whole thing?
Well, I had some difficulties getting I could stream it on the computer, but I couldn't figure out a way to get it onto my TV. And we tried everything between Roku's, Amazon Fire Sticks, web apps, everything. I don't know, but I watched it on a computer, and we were able to stream the audio um, through our television. So the audio was great. The video, well, there's a little bit of a lag time between the video and the audio for whatever reason for me, but all that aside, it was great. I mean, uh, the last episode we did when we talked about it, I think we were pretty negative because
Yeah.
we just got hit with the news that it wouldn't be a full performance. And then, the way that the information was coming about was a little disappointing. But after we had some time to digest all that and come to terms with the way things were going to be, um, it was good. I mean, it was a celebration of Black Sabbath music, not only through the musicians involved, but through the people that sent in the video clips and talked about how Black Sabbath affected them, changed their lives, and made them musicians, and not only fans but also other musicians
Yeah.
too. Fred, I'm not a I'm not a fan of Fred Durst, but one of the segments was him singing "Changes," which was kind of cool.
hmm
Really nice testimonial from Elton John, which
hmm
I thought was really good. But as far as
AC/DC.
the
Yeah.
yeah, it was a lot of people saying saying things about nice things and about Black Sabbath, and it led into the performances because there were like little segues of these people giving their testimonials before the various sets. Um, I didn't come into it until probably like the end of Mastodon. Um, um, I got to say I'm not a huge fan of any of the bands really that participated, other than I like Metallica. I've been a Metallica fan since like 1984, so I was looking forward to their set. Um, but to go in order, Mastodon was Mastodon. I mean, I've heard enough of their music to know what to expect, and I wasn't disappointed by that. It was cool. Um, I'm trying to think what were the highlights for me performance wise. Jakey Lee, of course, I thought that was a good the band that played Ultimate Sin and then Shot in the Dark. The changing of the singers was it Lizzie Hale that did the Ultimate Sin, and then
Yeah.
I don't
Was
know
it
what the
the guy
guy's
from
name is from just
Disturbed?
yeah, he
I
did
forget what his name
Shot in the
is. Yeah.
Dark. Yeah, I don't know what his name is. Draven, something Draven, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Uh, but it was cool seeing Jake. It took him a few minutes to come out on stage. You
Yeah.
notice
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
They're
That
like,
was funny.
Where's Jake? Where's
Yeah.
Jake?" I'm like, "Oh no." because I mean there's a lot of people there, and
Yeah.
I don't know that Jake's ever played for that many. Not that he's not the consummate
Yeah.
professional, but I mean, and I know that he was having problems. He said that he wouldn't be able to play Bark at the Moon. People were saying, "Well, you're
Yeah.
gonna play Bark at the Moon, right?" And he's like, "I don't think so. I have problems with my arthritis." And I thought, well, maybe he was just saying that, and he's going to come out and kick in the Bark at the Moon. But he didn't. He played The Ultimate Sin and Shot in the Dark. He looked good on stage.
Mhm.
He played well. Didn't make a lot of eye contact. He wasn't very animated, but I mean, he was there and he sounded good, and that's good enough for me. The other musicians that were involved in those two songs did a great job. I think everybody did. I think everybody um, went into it with the right idea, and that was to honor Black Sabbath. And you could hear it in the performances, and I think that was really important. That's the biggest takeaway. Whether you like this band or that band, or you don't, I don't think that really matters too much because the people, the musicians that were there, the musicians that performed, I think did it from the heart, and that's the most important thing. So I won't get too much into the things that I didn't like about it, but I'm going to mention two things. It seemed to me like Guns N' Roses got the lion's share of the deep tracks, and the band sounded good, but Axl Rose, man, he's just,
Yeah.
I mean, it was really
That
bad.
was rough. I
So
mean,
they,
hats off to them
yeah,
It's All Right. He did a little snippet of It's All Right, which I thought he
yeah,
might do when I saw the piano out there because that's something he used to do in their live shows. But when
yeah.
I heard when they started playing, I was like, wait a minute, is that Junior's Eyes who are
I
playing
know,
Junior? I
right?
was like,
Yeah, it's like,
wow. So I
and it,
mean, props to
yeah,
them
it was
for
cool.
yeah, that they at least didn't go the and most of the bands I will say, thank goodness somebody must have sent a memo to everybody and said, okay, here's what Black Sabbath is playing. So we don't want five bands playing Paranoid and the other five bands playing Iron Man. They
Yeah,
probably put those things as off limits. So it
right.
caused some bands to do some pretty interesting songs. And we said, it's all right. Never Say Die. Guns N' Roses
Yeah,
also
never
did
say
Never
die.
Say Die. They did Junior's Eyes. And then
Mhm.
Metallica does Johnny Blade. I
I
mean,
know,
when you
right?
add it up, outside of Paranoid, Never Say Die was probably the most
Yeah,
represented
it
album.
was, and yeah, and I guess they probably figured, well, it's a pretty safe bet that Black Sabbath isn't going to be doing any songs from Never Say Die, and of course they were right. But yeah, it was cool hearing the deep cuts. I think Guns N' Roses musically, I thought it was really cool. I couldn't figure out at first what when they started playing Johnny or Junior's Eyes. I'm like, oh, that's kind of a cool jam. I wonder what that's
Yeah.
going to be. And then it gradually
Yeah.
became more
Yeah.
evident what song it was. I'm like, wow, that sounds really good. Um, and the only weak spot were the vocals. Sabbath Bloody Sabbath sounded good. It's a powerful rendition of that. Musically on point, heavy. Vocals were a little bit better than some of the other songs, but I mean, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. And so it was cool hearing those songs represented at the concert. Um, I didn't care for Bark at the Moon. I thought that was. I know Tobias Forge is very popular. I know Ghost is a really, really popular band, and I'm sure that's why he was added. But yeah, I had a hard time listening to that one, as he was way out of his element on that. I liked Metallica. I liked Johnny Blade. I thought that was cool. It was a good pick. It was out of left field and good. Uh, let me think. I mean, there was just like Anthrax was okay. I liked Tool. I thought Tool Hand of
Yeah, I
Doom,
actually
right?
thought
That
they
was
were
pretty
my
cool.
favorite. As
Yeah,
far as
yeah,
like somebody taking a song and it sounded like a Tool song, like somebody who may not
yeah,
have known Hand of Doom might have thought it was a Tool song, and it was sort of cool because it kind of shows, of course there's a Tool plays heavy riff-based music so you can connect it to Black Sabbath. But you might not connect Tool directly to Black Sabbath. And, there's no songs, oh, that sounds just like a Black Sabbath song, because Tool does more of that sort of progressive sounding. They've got their own sound. But when I heard them do Hand of Doom, it was like, yeah, you can really hear how Black Sabbath probably influenced Tool. It isn't as obvious maybe as it is with some other bands, but they sort of took that song and it sounded like Tool, but they were pretty faithful to the version. It was just that Tool has such a unique sound. You could tell they really fought it out. Like, okay, let's do this one. And you could tell the bands that were more rehearsed and the bands that really fought it through more. There were a couple bands, like you mentioned, Anthrax, Joey Belladonna, when they did,
Into
was
the
it
Void.
Children Into the Void? Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like he just started screwing up the lyrics from
Oh
like
my
the
God. Yeah.
second line on. He was
Yeah.
just, all over the place with it. So for some people you can tell they really like put some thought. And Metallica was the same way, like Junior's Johnny Blade was just spot on. You could tell they really, worked that out. Same thing
Hole
with
in the
Hole
Sky.
in the Sky. That
Yeah.
sounded incredible. Yeah. So there were some bands that were, you know, it just sounded like they had maybe thought about it a little bit more, put a little bit more
Yeah.
time into it. But overall, like I thought that it was a great, all the bands paid homage to Black Sabbath. The only one that I thought was a little strange was when Steven Tyler came out.
Yeah.
He just comes out and he does, Train Kept a Rolling. That's kind of cool. It's a blues
And
jam.
Walk
And
This Way.
yeah,
Yeah.
when he did Walk This Way, I was kind of like, okay, is this really, you should have paid your respects. Like he's pretty much the only
Right.
person that came out that didn't do something, Black Sabbath, even Slayer, although I didn't think Wicked World was maybe the greatest cover of the night, they at least did it as, okay, here's us paying our respects to Black
Yeah.
Sabbath. But Steven Tyler just kind of came out and was like, I mean, he sounded great, but I don't know, it just that was kind of even though he sounded good, Walk This Way, that was like, okay, time to go to the bathroom, time to refill my drink.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I don't know why he did that. And Ron Wood, came
yeah,
out and they did Train Kept a Rolling. So I figured they do. I heard them do Train Kept a Rolling. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. And I figured they do something. I figured they at least attempt a Sabbath
yeah.
song. But they didn't. They walked this way and then they were out. So that was a little strange. But I mean, I guess if you look at it, that Black Sabbath was the headliner for the evening. Ozzy opening for Sabbath, and all the other bands were the opening acts. If you look at it that way,
Yeah.
then almost anything goes. So
All right, so what'd you think of I'll start with Ozzy and Sabbath. I thought Ozzy's voice sounded great. I was really nervous about Ozzy's voice. I mean, when's the last time we heard him sing live? I thought he sounded great. Like, in fact, at the beginning, I thought, man, is this he singing to a backing track? But he
yeah,
wasn't. You could tell that he wasn't because he would back off the mic, and there were times when his voice would crack a little bit or something. But the seat that he was, the throne thing that he was sitting on looked super cool. It didn't look in any way weird or awkward or anything. It looked really cool. I thought his set was great when he did Mama, I'm Coming Home. I figured he's either going to end with Mama, I'm Coming Home, or he's going to end with Crazy Train. And when he did Mama, I'm Coming Home, I've even my eyes even got a little bit watery. And I think Ozzy was emotional too, because his voice was
yeah,
you could hear he was struggled a little bit in that one. And I think it was
yeah,
just because he was emotional, the crowd. That was the other great thing about there were multiple camera angles, like close-ups of everybody in every band. There were shots of the audience, there were faraway shots, there were real close-up shots.
yeah,
And in Mama, I'm Coming Home, when they went on the crowd and you saw people were out there crying and everything, I
yeah.
thought he was great. I thought Ozzy's set was absolutely fantastic. He sounded great. The band sounded great. Sabbath, unfortunately, I was glad to see Bill there. I think Bill struggled though, man. He really struggled, I think, at times and I'm not even talking like, yeah, okay, he obviously wasn't doing the fills and everything like he did on the the original albums and stuff like that. But it just seemed like at times he was just behind. Like at the end of War Pigs, he messed up and the doo 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 doo. He didn't come in at the beginning of Paranoid the right way. There was a spot in NIB where he stopped, I think, in the wrong spot. So it was obvious that Bill was struggling a little bit. The tempos were a little bit sluggish. But that said, Ozzy sounded great. Geezer sounded great. Tony sounded great. Just coming after Ozzy's set, which was really, I think, really exciting, and the band was really spot on. They seem like it took them a little bit to get started. Like War Pigs, it felt a little unsettled at the beginning of War Pigs. Eventually they settled in and they got going and everything. But yeah, no real surprises. I thought maybe they'd come out with an encore. I really thought that they were going to come back out and do Black Sabbath. Because it sort of would have made sense, right? The very
Yeah,
last song they play is the very first song on the first
on the
Black
album.
Sabbath record, and the way Ozzy was sort of sitting there on the stage on his seat, and at one point you could see him mouthing something like, "Get me the F out of here" or something like that. He was saying
Yeah,
something, but so I thought, okay, maybe they're gonna come back out. They didn't, so it was a short set. Yeah, it was good. Did it blow my mind? Did Sabbath set blow my mind? I mean, if I really stand it up next to Ozzy set, I actually think Ozzy set was a little bit better than the Sabbath set. But it was good to see all four guys on the stage, kind of wrapping it up like that. Who knows? This can be a topic for another Sabbath Sunday if there's anything else possibly in the works for them if they go out like this. We were nervous when we originally talked about this show that the opening bands and everything, that could have been a total fiasco. That could have been, like they had this revolving stage. That
yeah.
was
I
great.
was going to mention that.
I thought it was going to be like everybody's way behind schedule.
Yeah,
Guys, amps aren't working. Oh my God, somebody else covering Paranoid. Like it could have just been a total like fiasco, bands playing over their time, and it just could have been a mess. And the same thing, we were nervous about Ozzy. We were nervous that Ozzy was not going to sound good, and it was not going to be a good representation of Ozzy. I don't think that was the case at all. He sounded fantastic. We were nervous about Bill. We were nervous that he may not even play. If you remember, there was one point where early on he had the quote like, "Well, I'm going to be there. We'll see what happens," or he said something like that, and we thought, "Oh my gosh, is he even going to play?" So I'm glad he played. I'm glad that they were all there. Overall, it was very satisfying. I mean, I've been sitting in my living room here since
yeah,
11:45. I got on a little bit after you, but
yeah,
I've been in my room here basically all day. So it was very enjoyable. Anybody out there that has a big music festival, Wacken, Hellfest, everybody should start doing this. Uh, Let people live stream these shows. This was a completely enjoyable experience. Hats off to the live stream people. They did a fantastic job. The sound quality was excellent. I had it running through my stereo. It was in stereo. It sounded fantastic. I didn't have any syncing problems. It was synced up with my video perfectly. So yeah, overall, great experience. It's sad to sort of see it come to an end like this, but I'm so glad that it went off well, that it was a good showing. Uh, I think it was a good way to sort of wrap everything up.
yeah, yeah. I agree. It's closure. I think it's officially this chapter, if you want to call it a chapter, maybe who knows? There's been some rumblings about there possibly being now that I guess the four members have come together. They've come this far. Tony was recently talking. I think it was actually Geezer that was talking about how he expressed his disappointment again with the way that 13 came out, and I think Tony was saying that the demos that they recorded with Mike Exeter, I think that's his name,
Yeah.
were so much better, had a better energy and a better sound, and he would like to somehow get those out there. But I think he also, well, they were asked, I mean, would you do another album? And I think Bill was the one that said, yeah, to be direct, I'm all for it. Tony said, yeah, I'd do it. Geezer was like, well, I don't think there's really a need to, but I'll do it. So there's that. Like, is that going to happen? Is that the next thing? So I mean, we closed the chapter on live performance, and you're right. It was a little lackluster, but I'll get to that in a minute. So we're going to start for me with Ozzy. Um, Ozzy sitting in a chair. We knew that was going to be the deal. It was okay. He did sound really, really good.
Hmm.
I don't know was the first song. He sounded great. I mean, I would
Hmm.
listen to that performance and enjoy his voice.
Hmm.
Next was Suicide Solution. Sounded good.
A little bit of a
Jake's guitar
surprise to
tone.
me.
Yeah, I was surprised about that. I figured, okay, well, we're probably going to go with like Crazy Train, which he did do later on. But Jake's or not Jake, Zach's guitar was a little off. The tone was sounded strange, and his soloing was a little
Yeah.
sloppy. Um, and maybe because he did that Pantera set before, who knows? But his tone was off too, and that was a little bit of a distraction. But Ozzy's voice sounded great. Very melodic. It was a little bit pulled back with the tempo, which is probably where it should be.
Hmm.
I've heard worse performances of those two songs.
Oh
The
yeah.
live at Budokan, I think, isn't a very good live album. I think the performances from tonight or today were actually better than those. And then Mama, I'm Coming Home. So I had to leave the room, okay, because as soon as I saw Zach with the acoustic guitar, I could feel, like a little flutter, and I'm like, nah, nah. And then I heard Ozzy start to sing, and I got up and I excused myself. I had to go to the bathroom, but I didn't come back until after the song was finished. But I could hear it.
Yeah.
But it was I did not. I knew what was going to happen, and that was going to be watching the people, and I would have lost it. I'm sure I would have lost it, and that's a good thing because that's what you want. You want
Hmm.
that emotional content, and it was there. Mom, I'm coming home. Again, his voice sounded good. Um, Crazy Train, I think he started it started to peter out a little bit. It was decent, but it wasn't the strongest of the four songs. I would say I don't know sounded really good,
Hmm.
and coming right out of the gate. When you're just getting started, I think it's really important to make that first song really
Yeah.
set things off in the right direction. So he did. So no problems at all with Ozzy's portion. Um, Sabbath, Ozzy sounded good. War Pigs
Hmm.
sounded good. I was surprised by NIB. So mm, I knew they were going to do four songs, and I texted you or sent you a message, and I'm like, well, what four songs do you think they're going to do? And we both agreed that, well, it's going to be War Pigs. It has to be Paranoid. I thought maybe I thought definitely the Black Sabbath, and I thought Children of the Grave. You said Iron Man, and I'm like, yeah, of course, it's got to be Iron Man. So we thought it was going to be Black Sabbath, War Pigs, um, Iron Man, and Paranoid, but it wasn't. They threw in NIB, and that was a
Yeah.
curveball, and it was cool. But Bill was sloppy. I don't think it was because he's not physically able to do it. He looked good,
Hmm.
you know, all things considered. He looked better until he took a shirt off. It's like okay, uh, but he played pretty well. I mean, the Bills were extremely dumbed down, especially
Yeah.
in War Pigs, which
Yeah.
you would think, well, okay, this is the last performance of all time. Just go for it. It doesn't matter. You can just tell by the look in everyone's eyes and their facial expressions that they could have just crap the bed and people would have still cheered. It
Yeah.
was just about seeing them. So why
Yeah.
not just go for it? People are there celebrating your music. I would have
Yeah.
liked to have seen Bill just let it go. Like try that, Phil. Just go there. And if you fail, if you
Yeah.
drop a stick or whatever, so what? Everybody's going to understand. But he didn't. He kept it. He played it safe. I don't think it was because he didn't have the energy or the stamina. I think is because he just wanted to play it safe. I thought Tony was really sloppy.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I figured he would be completely on point. I thought he would be the one that would sound the best. But I actually think it was Geezer and Ozzy. I think own that set.
Yeah, my
Uh,
friend, our friend Matthias, let me read what he said. Only Geezer was properly match fit, was the expression he used, a good old soccer expression.
I agree with that.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I don't think besides Ozzy, it was kind of surprising. Tony seemed a little bit odd, and I don't know if Tony was getting. I saw him looking back at Bill a couple times, kind of like it seemed like they were just, I don't know, I wonder how much rehearsal they had for this because it just seemed like they were struggling a little bit to really get locked in at whatever locked in is at
Well,
this point in
yeah.
their career. It seemed like it was just a little bit off.
War Pigs, I could hear. I know exactly when it started to go south, and I'm like, oh no, no. Oh, I was watching with my wife. I said, he just messed that up, and she's like, I couldn't tell. I'm like, if you've ever played the song, you
Yeah.
know that, yeah, that. And then he didn't make a recovery. He kept going.
Mhm.
It's like he didn't stop himself from rolling down the hill, and I
Yeah.
think that might have been a distraction for Tony. I don't think the guys were particularly happy with the performance. I think the way they exited the stage kind of
Yeah.
kind of says that. I expected them to take a bow. Bill
Yeah, that
got
was
up,
really
and
weird. I
yeah,
expected them all to come out, even if Ozzy stayed in the seat. I expected them to stand around Ozzy, and it was just like
yeah,
Tony came over to Geezer and sort of gave Geezer a hug, and those two sort of, tapped Ozzy on the shoulder. I don't even think Bill came. Bill stood up, waved, left the stage, and then everybody
yeah.
just kind of left. And poor Ozzy was like sitting there in his seat,
I
and the
know it
lights
was
were down,
weird.
and he was like, "Hey, I'm still here." That was a
Yeah,
little bit strange. I really
yeah,
expected them to all come forward and to give kind of a
yeah,
lengthy, bow and wave to the crowd. But that's why I thought there was going to be an encore. I thought, well,
yeah,
they're going to come back
yeah,
out. They're going to do Black Sabbath, the big picture taking moment of all four guys at the front of the stage. That'll be it. But it wasn't. They just sort of left. The fireworks went off, and then that was it.
yeah. Yeah, so I was a little bit disappointed by that for a couple reasons. I was disappointed that it ended as abruptly as it did, and I was disappointed that they couldn't. I'm not really complaining about it because I'm not in their shoes. I mean, it has to be nerve-wracking. I mean, you saw all
Yeah.
those people there. I mean, good God. Um, but it is the last performance ever, and the people were there. Just take a bow. Ozzy was very gracious. Ozzy said all the right things.
Hmm.
And I appreciate that. Sounded very heartfelt. He was back. And the one thing he said during Black Sabbath said, I believe, he said, just want to thank everybody. You've given us uh,
Our lifestyle.
a lifestyle that we've enjoyed. I mean, he doesn't get
Even my
more
wife
honest than
said the
that.
same thing. She's like, "Did he
Yeah,
just
hey,
say thank you for supporting our lifestyle
yeah.
or
Thank
whatever
you
it
for
is?"
making me rich.
Yeah,
Hey.
hey, at least he's being honest, right?
Yeah, I mean, the overall takeaway is I think it was I think it was a human thing. It didn't seem manufactured. It didn't seem insincere. I think everybody that participated genuinely respect Black Sabbath. Were there for the right reasons. Were selected for the right reasons. Moreover, and so that really is the most important thing, I guess. I mean, you could nitpick all day long, but what's the point? I mean, it's over, and it was better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
We talked about it being a circus, and it kind of was, but it was a well organized circus, and I
yeah,
think it was a Black Sabbath circus. It wasn't just a circus of all these people just coming in and doing their thing and then
yeah,
leaving and then just being like a jumbled mess. It was at least focused on Black Sabbath, and that's one of the things I said. It can be a circus as long as at the center the emphasis is on Black Sabbath, and I think at least it was that. So, um, mission accomplished overall.
yeah. It felt like a worthy celebration and tribute to Black Sabbath. And it was the whole package. It was the bands talking between songs. It was the clips of the fans between the acts. It was just the whole thing, the whole way it was put together. It felt like a good uh celebration of Black Sabbath. And I'm glad that they did this now because, okay, maybe the guys weren't as tight or on point or the tempos weren't where they should have been. But you know what? Honestly, I'd rather have that than waiting till one of the guys passes and then you have a tribute show. That's the typical thing, right? It's always after somebody passes, then you have the tributes all come out and everything. Let's do it now while the guys are here.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah.
yeah, and
It
so
should
I
have been done
think
a while ago, but
yeah, I mean, better late than ever, I guess.
right.
And
Yeah.
if I don't feel cheated. I just spent 8 hours sitting in my living room, and for the most part, it went by it went by pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it was a fun day. It's a good memory. I'm glad I experienced it live because I think that was fun too, kind of experiencing it in the moment rather than just catching YouTube clips or something like that later on. I'm glad I was able to sort of see it in the moment, one act from the other and everything. So, yeah, overall, good experience. I think maybe on some future Sabbath Sundays, maybe we'll explore the topic of, will there be another chapter to this? Will there be a revised edition, an epilogue to this yet? Do we want there to be, another edition? We'll
Well,
maybe
yeah.
save that for future Sabbath Sunday discussions, but.
Well,
All
that's
right,
the
any
thing.
final
Yeah.
thoughts you want to say before we wrap this up here and the back to the beginning?
Just that I think that this is going. There's going to be conversations. I mean, there's a lot of energy now that this
Yeah,
is over. All the energy that was leading up to it until the conclusion, and now it's like everybody's kind of still bristling with the afterglow of it all. So I think that this is the time, if there's going to be any time, where the four guys are probably going to be making plans, and if they're not, they're not. But if they are, you're going to hear about it within the next week or two, while the energy level is still
yeah,
running high. And who knows? I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of interest in Black Sabbath. Usually is when a band decides to retire, or a member passes away or something like that. There's always that spike in interest, and I think that's what's going to happen in the next few weeks or so. So we'll see. We'll see what that involves.
yeah.
I've said before, and we've talked about it. We've discussed it on our videos, and a lot of people say, nope, I don't want any more recordings, and I get that. I really do. But well, if nothing else, I'd like to hear if those demos before, or the early recordings before 13, before they went in the studio with Rick Rubin, if they're as good as Tony says they are, I definitely want to hear those. Um, and if they're willing to record something, knowing the mistakes they made on 13 and coming in with that mindset, like, okay, well, this is the album we should have made. If they're going to come in with that mindset and they've got inspiration and it has to be all four, then I'm in favor of it. I mean, why not? I want to hear it. Why wouldn't I want to hear it? I mean, it can't it can't be any worse than 13. If they come in with the right mentality, I think it'll be a good thing. So
Yeah, I'm gonna
those are
kind
my
of give
final thoughts.
myself, right now you're kind of on a high. You just watched the show, it was fun and everything. I want to give myself a week or two, and I want to come back and explore this topic some more and see how I'm feeling about what I would like to see. Yeah, actually, that would be a good topic for a Sabbath Sunday, is kind of like how we would like to see Black Sabbath move ahead now that where they stand right now, what we would like to see them do, what we think they'll do, and what we would like to see them do. So, all right, well, there you go, Black Sabbath. Back to the beginning. This is our post game. In the moment reaction. Let us know what you guys think. Was anybody out there? We'd love to hear from
Yeah.
anybody that was actually there. What was the mood like in the city? You know what I mean? I bet you it was just an absolute blast. I knew that there was that Black Sabbath bench, and I didn't realize there were so many murals of Black Sabbath around town and everything. So that was awesome seeing them showing, around the area and everything. So if you were at the show, please let us know what it was like. If you watched it streaming like us, let us know what you thought of the show. Let us know what you thought of the whole package and the whole production. Let us know in the comments down below. I'm sure YouTube already has videos on.
Oh yeah.
Right while I was waiting for you to log in, I clicked on YouTube and there's already a bunch of clips from the show today. So if you saw it on YouTube, you saw it live, you saw the streaming, let us know what you guys thought of the whole thing. And yeah, we'll be back. There's always plenty to talk about with Black Sabbath with me and Darin. So we'll be back to talk about the future and the past with Black Sabbath. So all right, we'll see y'all at the next Sabbath Sunday.